Cool. So I'm gonna mess with some Dojo tonight, and I want to talk a little bit about doing some custom Dojo middleware. So Dojo middleware is kind of a way that you can inject stuff into your widgets and whatnot, and there's a lot of different ways you can use it, right? According to the documentation here, provides a way to manage asynchronous or imperative APIs in a reactive way, right? So it's basically there's some middleware that you have available to you that can do some pretty cool things. There's the iCache middleware, which is kind of a nice way to manage the local state in the widget. So it's simpler stuff than what you would use maybe a resource for. Definitely not global state like you use processes and commands. Just kind of managing the state of the widget. Is it loaded or not? Is there a property like a that gets computed, for example, right? Like you pass a widget properties, it can compute like another property. You give a first name, last name to a widget, and it's going to compute that and turn it into a full name. That could be a part of the iCache. Maybe some other weird stuff you can do. I've done one with that. I've done one that's like a phone number validator and a couple other cool things. There's one for like the intersection observer, so you know if the widget is within view of your application. And there's a ton of cool things. You can read a lot about it. The fundamentals, the available middleware, which is definitely one that you want to check out. There's also the core render middleware, which is these are all the different middlewares available to you. One that I'm going to show you tonight is going to be the node middleware, which is how you can get a reference to a DOM element that gets created by your widget. And then there's other ones here as well that I'm not going to really get into, but they're a little bit more advanced. Like you wouldn't normally use the get registry. There's definitely use cases for it, and I've done it before, but it definitely is more of an advanced use case. There's also defer. Um, I I know there's going to be reasons for using defer. I just haven't found a one just yet because most of the time I think I need defer to defer rendering my widget. I can really just use iCache to set some sort of a value, and then my widget gets rendered based on these new values, right? Or else if I just defer it, then nothing happens. Like the widget just doesn't load, which maybe you want. I don't know. People do some cool things, right? So I'm going to do something which I don't know if necessarily fits into a middleware pattern or should fit into a middleware pattern, but I'm going to use Esri Loader as a middleware for my Dojo widget so I can stick a map somewhere, anywhere I want, right? The reason I'm using Esri Loader is because right now the ArcGIS Core ESM build doesn't quite work with the modern Dojo build tools. I think it's just a bit sensitive because I know we have some circular dependencies in ArcGIS Core, which we're working on trying to fix. But the Dojo build tools seem to be pretty sensitive to those circular dependencies. So it just doesn't work at the moment yet. It will at some point, just not quite yet. So I've used Esri Loader under the hood to make it all work, right? I basically want to make it a middleware that I'll just kind of shove a map anywhere that I use that middleware. I have started off, I created a middleware folder. I created a web map middleware in here that just, it doesn't have anything just yet. Right, but let me go ahead and look at the home widget where I'm going to use this. And I need to, one of the things I need to display a map is going to be an element to display it somewhere, right? So that would be something like this div I have here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this div a key. And that key can be pretty much anything. It just needs to be unique to my element. So I'm going to call it map div, like so. Now what I want to do is I need to bring in the node middleware. So let's go to import. I believe it's like so, node from Dojo framework for middleware. No, it's not. No, that's not where it comes from. It's not in there. It's gonna be in here. It's gonna be in the VDOM. My bad. Just thinking about that. Node. Yeah, it's right there. I don't know. Read documentation, people, please. Okay, so there's my node middleware. So how does this work? Basically what I want to do is I need to pass it to the create method for my widget. All right, so I need to look at that. This is Dojo 7, so okay. So now I have my node middleware in here. So now what I want to do is I want to say that const element, and I think I can do this. HTML element is going to be equal to node dot get map div. All right, boom. Dojo won't build because of the error, so I'm gonna get a compile error because of that. TypeScript error, so I don't. Basically, if it's element, so if I do have a node, right, when it renders, I want to do something, right? For now, just so that this compiles, let's log it. So I'm gonna log element. Why is it still gonna be errors? Now it's gonna complain because I'm trying to force it to be a type of element. Yeah, not assignable. So I knew that. I knew that. Did you know that? I knew that. Basically, it could be null as well, so I can't force it there, but I can do this. I could say HTML element. Actually, you know what? I think if it's smart, it will let me do this. So at this point, it's not null, so it should be an element because, you know, it's not null. I think the typing should pick that up. Okay, cool. So that's pretty basic. I mean, if I look here, there's our element, right? Okay, so now let's make the middleware, right? So in order to get this middleware to work, you need the create method still for that you use for widgets. So it's pretty similar to making a widget. It just you know, a little bit behaves a little bit differently, but you need some of the same modules. So I need to create. Oops, not pound. Dojo framework for VDOM. All right, and I'm also gonna need iCache. So I'm gonna want to. I need some state for this middleware to say whether or not I've already created the map, right? So iCache from. Why do I keep doing that? Can't type. For middleware iCache. Bam. Okay. Uh. Yes. So if this not using it, it's okay. It's a complaint about not using stuff. So now what I need to do is create my factory. Like I said, it looks a lot like I'm making a widget, but I'm not making a widget. Well, you're making kind of a an extension for your widget, you could say. It's middleware. Okay, so now what I can do is I can go ahead and export my middleware. So I'm going to export const web map middleware. I don't have to capitalize W, I don't think. Is going to be equal to, and this can be equal to the factory method. Like so. All right, now I'm going to export the default for this. Come on. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and create this middleware, right? And I need my iCache. Okay, so now let's start doing some stuff. So first thing I want to do is I want to return an object. So I'm going to return an object. Next, let me do this. Let me do this. So like so. So that's typing, right? And this object's going to have a method called load map. And that load map method is going to, I should do it like this. It's going to take an ID, that'll be a string, and it's going to take the container, that'll be an HTML element. Right? So this could be the web map ID that is going to get used to display the map. This could be where I'm going to display that map. So now what I can do is I can check to see if it's been loaded, right? So const loaded is going to be equal to iCache dot get or set a loaded property. And the default is going to be false. Boom. All right, so if it's loaded, just return null. All right, don't do the rest of this code I'm going to write because I've already done it once. I don't need to do it again. That means my map is already displayed. All right, so now what I can do is I can go ahead and import Esri Loader. Right, I don't want to load Esri Loader or any of its components until I actually need it. So then just do it like so. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring in a couple of methods from Esri Loader. There's a load modules and a load CSS. So that's kind of critical too. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to load the CSS like so. Now what I'm going to do is I want to load some modules. So let me do this because so I can write a little bit cleaner code. I'll make this async. Now I can do stuff like const, and I'm gonna get a web map. And we get map view. That's gonna be equal to await load modules. And I'm gonna go ahead and load. Let's do this. So I want Esri web map and Esri views map views. So if you're not familiar with Azure Loader, what it does is basically side loads the CDN build of the ArcGIS API for JavaScript into your applications, because that build still uses the an AMD loader, but it's highly optimized build files, and it's still pretty useful for instances like this where I want to kind of lazy load the API and I don't have a great integration between ArcGIS core, the ESM stuff, and maybe another framework or library or something. So this is a good use case for doing it. And this is actually a pretty good example of how to do it with this middleware example I'm making right here. So I'm not gonna argue with it. It works. So we create a new web map, and that web map takes a portal. Oh, jeez. Portal item that takes 90. Bam. There's my map. There's the actual map. So now I create a view that's equal to a new map view. And that map view is going to take the map and the container. Okay, done. So I know it's going to complain about unused item for view. So I'm going to do is I'm going to do a view.when, and that when method is just going to console.log view ready. I do this all the time because a lot of times TypeScript will complain about stuff like that. So now that's done, I can go and say that icache.set loaded is true. Oh, so the default, because I return null up there, if it's loaded, I still need to return null down here. I could return some other value from here. I could return the so I could return null if I haven't done anything yet, or I could like return the map view, for example. And then in my widget, I can do the view.when, and you can do other stuff. Now you have parts of the API to play with, but I don't like mixing API or JavaScript API stuff for the maps and everything into my widgets like that. I just want to display a map and then have other parts of the API do it. So, okay, so there is my web map middleware, right? So how do I use that? So I'm going to import web map from, well, up one, middleware, web map. I pass it like I would any other middleware. Pass it over here. So then I can access it from my widget, like so. Now what I can do is I can say that if element, right? So I got my element here. Then I'm going to say webmap.loadMap. And let's go to the Living Atlas. And here, let's go and try and find something kind of cool. Let's browse maps. Let's browse some trending content. Look at this. Monthly unemployment changes. Jennifer Bell made this. Okay. Let's go and grab this. Oh, it wants me to log in. Fine, I'll log in. And we grab this web map ID up here. All right, it's a web map. So if we go back, do this. Okay, so in here I need to pass that ID, and I'm gonna pass the element, which is the container for my widget. What to complain about? Oh, not load. Load map. There we go. Awesome. So it did recognize the fact that because that element from node.get can be null or an HTML element, do the little check to see if it's not null. Forces the typing to be element here. Okay, good. I knew it would. I really knew it would. And there we go. I was just able to use Dojo Middleware to sideload the JavaScript API so I can load a map in an application. What's cool now is I can go ahead and use this middleware anywhere in my application or any other application. I can share this middleware out and it gets loaded everywhere I want it to. It's kind of a, I mean, if I really want to do this, I'd probably do a custom web component built from Dojo or something if I want it to be completely reusable. But this is another way to use the tools that are built in the Dojo to kind of inject maps everywhere. I can pass settings in here too. Maybe I want to change the default extent of my web map when it loads, or maybe I don't want a web map. I just want to find some base maps, pass an API key, or whatever else I might want to do to create these little bits of the JavaScript API and web maps in some application. I can do all that really cool stuff. So that's how you can work with custom middleware for your applications. Like I said, they have a lot of uses. They can fetch data, do all kinds of cool things, almost like a resource, right? And I guess I'm trying to think here. I could probably use a resource to do this as well. I could pass an element to my resource, and that Dojo resource can fetch my web map and do everything else it needs to do. Update the element. I'm not sure about that though, because I don't know once I update an element, I need a way to invalidate it, which the iCache kind of does for me. But we'll see. I'm not quite sure. I would need to play with that. This I know works. So, and it's middleware. Middleware kind of implies the fact that it's going to interact with the widget in some way. So I would trust that more above everything else. So yeah, give that a shot. Play with it. Have some fun with Dojo Middleware. Thanks.